going on, guys? Aaron from the Bitcoin Bros here, and in today's clip we got an opportunity to interview the CEO of H100 Group, Sander Anderson, and he's going to be talking about their Bitcoin treasury strategy in today's video clip. And they are an up-and-coming company out of Sweden, so make sure to check this interview out to the end. Dive deep, follow Sander on Twitter, do your own research on the company. They definitely have a pretty interesting strategy how they're looking to obtain Bitcoin, so make sure to check out the interview to the end. If you haven't, like and subscribe to us on YouTube. We have new Bitcoin content coming out every single day. Let's go ahead and get into the interview here. What's going on, guys? We're here with Sander Anderson. He is the CEO of H100 Group. H100 is a new Bitcoin treasury company. We're really looking forward to learning more about the company. Happy to have you here, Sander. But with that, let's go ahead and just kick it off with the first question. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what the goal is of H100 Group? Do you plan to follow the microstrategy plan exactly to acquire more Bitcoin? What is the plan going forward for H100 Group?
Yeah, so H100 Group is a Bitcoin treasury company with longevity technology as the operational side of things, which has always been in my portfolio. I actually founded the health part back in 2015, but quickly, I think in 2017, I explored crypto, and after I moved to Lugano in 2022, I graduated being more and more a Bitcoin maxi, or at least just spending all my time on Bitcoin. So I believe personally that it's very, very hard to beat Bitcoin. So without actually playing along with Bitcoin and not accepting that Bitcoin is the new hurdle rate, I think will be very, very hard. If you don't do that, it will be very hard to create shareholder value compared to just holding Bitcoin. So to answer your question, we aim to accumulate as much Bitcoin as we can and ensure that we increase Bitcoin per share over time. Right now is a very good market to do convertible notes, equity, and you get the premium. But we see that to be sustainable over time, the operational cash flow needs to be positive, and you can also use operational cash flow to buy back more Bitcoin or shares in tougher times. Since we've been here, we know it's going up and it's going down, but at the end of the day, we are here for the long term to accumulate as much Bitcoin per share as possible.
Cool. So going down the rabbit holes in X, we see that the company may be going through some type of new branding with a new website, potentially a new logo. Correct me if that's if I'm misspeaking, but what does the underlying business do? And are you guys trying to transition into being like a more pure play as far as Bitcoin treasury company goes? Or are you still going to be entertaining the other side of the business as well?
So to just clarify that the current business we have is a stable, relatively small business. We still think it has huge potential. So we have no reason to don't do that. It's operating fine. But we will definitely spend a lot of time in the capital market. My whole career I've spent as a fundraising. I started as in the venture capital world. As a CEO there, you do two things. You put the vision, strategy, and you raise capital. In 2022, I started FinPeers in Switzerland, which is a network of family offices investing into Bitcoin and investment strategies. So my whole career, I spent a lot of time raising capital, and we will keep doing that as much as we can. But we also truly believe that the sovereign individual needs more services and products, and aligning your capital structure, your marketing towards the Bitcoiners will also open up a lot of potential business models in the future.
So as far as H100 Group, what's the plan to acquire more Bitcoin per share? Like, what methods do you guys plan on using?
So currently we have a convertible note out in the market, which has a 1-to-5 tranche system. And we started that with asst a couple of weeks ago. And as we saw in today's announcement, the tranche one was oversubscribed by 50%. And the current share price today is close to 4 kroner, and you see that tranche 2 is 228, tranche 3 is closer to 3. So already now we see a lot of the tranches is in the money. So we'll keep doing these structured convertible note in tranches. We will also do equity issuings at market or at closing. We have quite good flexibility to do so. And I worked with and around the tokenization space for quite some time. I truly want to be using tokenization as one of the methods to reach the Bitcoiners, and especially focused on the liquid layer 2 network. And we are already in dialogue with a couple of potential partners there.
To piggyback on that, tranche 1 got completed in real quick time, rapid time there. Where do you see, as far as timeline goes, tranches 2 through 5 getting completed?
So if the share price keeps staying where it is today, or 33% above the price, which was 1.75, after 20 years, it's forced completion. So basically, we convert the loan into equity, and therefore we are ready to trigger another tranche. So since we started today, maximum 20 days. I can't speak for the shareholders or the loan holders, but they will probably convert earlier, some of them at least. So if the share price keeps staying at these levels, we see all the way up to tranche 3 being completed quite quickly, with huge incentives for the convertible loan holders.
Makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned Adam Back earlier, and Adam Back is probably one of the reasons why we heard about you guys. There was a Twitter thread that was going around, and people were kind of talking about, to understand MicroStrategy, you have to understand Bitcoin. So only 1% of people who understand Bitcoin will understand strategy. And they kind of went down the rabbit hole of, well, to understand Metaplanet, you have to understand what strategy is doing. So like only 1% of people that understand Metaplanet will understand or understand MicroStrategy will understand Metaplanet. And then it kind of went down like in a Twitter thread, and Adam Back responded to all that, like, well, to understand all these companies, you're going to have to, 1% of those people are going to understand one altbg, which is another Bitcoin treasury company in France that he backed. And then 1% of that, 1% of those people will understand H100 group. So I'm just curious, why do you think Adam Back is so bullish, and why do you think Adam Back is willing to work with you guys? Because Adam Back does have a lot of credibility in space, and some people even think that he is Satoshi. So just wondering why you think he's so bullish on H100.
A good question. I think I can't speak for Adam, but he seems to be very, very passionate about this kind of play. He has been one of, or maybe even the most important figure in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and he is incredibly supportive. So I can't speak for him, but I think he generally just wants to push the narrative, show that Bitcoin can eat the global capital markets, and I guess he then believed that we are one of those that could execute on that.
Good stuff. We're going to transition and talk a little bit about risk management. So right now there's a ton of bullishness in the space. We're in a bull market. Bitcoin's probably going to put in new all-time highs if it's not there at the current time of this recording. A lot of excitement, lots going on. So eventually there will be a substantial pullback, whether that be at the end of this year. Some people are talking about an elongated cycle to where we're going to 2026, 2027. Time will tell. But when that time comes, how is the H100 group positioning themselves to prepare for if Bitcoin does have that 70% pullback or 80% pullback that it's historically had after these 4-year cycles?
So first of all, the new convertible loans we are doing has a 5-year maturity. So it extends the payback time quite a bit. And if you look at the history over a 5-year period, Bitcoin hasn't performed that bad. But that being said, we in this tranche, for example, when we saw the demand was there, we raised around 3.1 million in the convertible note, but we did 6.9 million in equity. So this is a way for us to use the investor interest to convert more into equity, so we don't get too high debt levels, so that we have both cash for the operations, but also like keeping the debt levels low. A second thing we actively explore is Bitcoin denominated convertible loans, where you get 1 Bitcoin, you pay 1 Bitcoin back. So if the price goes up or the price goes down, you still just pay back the Bitcoin. So these are, I would say, do more equity and ensure that the fiat debt level are at a conservative, like a manageable situation over long enough time, and ensure that we have the right to convert like we have today. If the stock price trade 20 days 33% above the price the investors subscribe that, we have the right to convert into equity and reduce the debt. Other than that, we have the operational business. We think cash flow is important, at least for the long term. We are here for 10, 15, 20 years, and I think you should use the fiat money to survive, and you store the most valuable asset we have, Bitcoin, in the balance sheet.
Cool. Good to hear you guys are taking one out of the blockchain group's playbook with the Bitcoin convertible notes. I think that's very innovative, and I think that's a good way to raise Bitcoin. So good to hear that. That's definitely exciting. One thing I did want to ask is, do you guys plan to do any type of Bitcoin reserve where people can kind of see your reserves, proof of reserves, similar to what Metaplanet is doing? Or will you take the approach of strategy and have custodians holding your Bitcoin?
This is a topic we currently discuss, especially around when we now aim to raise even more capital. So we haven't decided yet, but on a general level, I believe transparency is important.
Gotcha. Cool. And then do you plan to do or try to get the ticker in any other markets, like the US market or other markets around the world?
We are actively exploring that, yes, but nothing confirmed yet. But it's natural that we listed on a smaller Swedish exchange. We'll do dual listing or uplisting to a bigger exchange for more global access. That's also why I want to explore tokenization, because that gives Bitcoin native access on top of the Bitcoin layer 2.
As far as Bitcoin acquisition, there's been some companies, when comparing to like altbg, blockchain group, metaplanet, they've come out and said they're trying to get to a certain threshold of Bitcoin by a certain date. Has H100 group had those conversations? Will that be released in the future as far as where you guys can expect to go or expect to get as far as your overall Bitcoin acquisition plan, say by the end of this year, 3 years out, 5 years out?
So we do not have any guiding in the market yet, but what we can say is that we have raised around 600K daily since we announced our Bitcoin treasury strategy, and we don't see that slow down going forward.
One thing that I looked into a little bit was in Sweden there's an ISK tax, and I was just curious, do you think there's any benefit to Swedish investors who may want to invest in the H100 group versus Bitcoin from a tax perspective? We're in the US, so we're not as familiar with the ISK tax, but just curious if you think there's any benefit there for investors in Sweden.
So you have some that, for example, if you have a trading account, you can trade as much as you want without being taxed before you take out the money. And in the Nordics in general, the tax levels are quite high. So compared to trading Bitcoin, you have each transaction is a taxable event, which makes it also like a logistical complex thing to do. It's not impossible, but it can create some extra work. We also have some insurance policies that also are quite tax beneficial, trading Bitcoin treasury companies and stocks in general.
Nice. Okay. The next question we have for you is surrounding the Bitcoin price action. We've asked, a lot of people that come on our channel, what their projections are for the end of the year, 2025, and where do you see Bitcoin in 5 years, 2030?
I think we will surpass gold market cap faster than we think. I think that's around 10x from here. It will happen way faster than people think. I think even if it's a $2 trillion asset, the price movement can go very, very quickly. This year, I find it very hard to predict things in the short term, but I will be very surprised if it isn't above 1 million in 2030. I think closer to 2.
We're on the same page with you. And if people wanted to find out more information about the H100 group, if they want to do more of a deep dive on the company, is there a website or is there a good place to find out that information, or is Twitter X the best place?
Yeah, Twitter X is currently the best place. Our website is h100.group. We are now updating it. We will have our new orange color on the website. We have started hinting some on X, and so on X and our website, and we will try to be as transparent and share as much information as we can and engage with the community on X.
Cool. So just to wrap it up, this would be our last question. Do you have any other additional things that you want to say to the audience, before we wrap it up here? Just any closing thoughts?
I think, especially for those that are new to Bitcoin treasury companies, I suggest them start studying Bitcoin, because that's when you understand how powerful Bitcoin treasury companies is and how you can use the capital market to buy as much Bitcoin as you can. It's truly a new way of basically absorbing as much Bitcoin as you can in a new, more regulated way that are more transparent for the investor compared to these other initiatives that have been in the other cycles. A lot of people are thinking about or are saying that Bitcoin treasury companies are the new FTX but I think you have to study Bitcoin first, and then you have to understand that this is in a regulated market. We have rules. We have to be transparent. So this is a completely new thing. I understand the skepticism, but start with studying Bitcoin and then understand how you can use the financial market to buy as much as you can. And then I think you will get why people are doing Bitcoin treasury companies, and also why the premium is there, and also why some doesn't have a premium and some has a very high premium. And that has to be with the ability for the company to raise capital to buy more Bitcoin to absorb the premium as fast as possible. So if you understand Bitcoin and a few other metrics, I think you will find Bitcoin treasury companies quite exciting.
Yeah, to your point, there's people that are still hoping that there's going to be an Altseason Mania. And, if you really understand what's going on behind the curtain with Bitcoin treasury companies, we have been telling people on our channel, Bitcoin treasury companies are the new altcoins, if you may. But it's going to be a long-term play, not just a short term. So definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, the big difference between altcoins and Bitcoin treasury companies is that Bitcoin treasury companies adding directly value to the Bitcoin ecosystem.
100%.
We have a fixed amount. If you own 0.1 Bitcoin or 10 Bitcoin or just a few sats, we lift the water for all boats. The more we buy, the more we build, and the more applications we can create together, and also strengthening the community. So this is for the Bitcoin ecosystem in general, and altcoin is just for their specific community. Here we do something. I think what people need to understand, if you're not a Bitcoiner, is that all Bitcoiners are shareholder of Bitcoin Corporation that doesn't have any centralized leadership, which basically creates it to a global animal that basically grow and benefit everyone. In the fiat money, if you're close to the printer, you benefit. If you're far away from the printer, they just steal your money. So in Bitcoin, it's different. Even if strategy buys the most and a few other buys a little bit less and then a little bit less, everyone benefits from it. That's why you should hold Bitcoin. And that's why you should engage with the Bitcoin community, because it's a way more fair financial system, a way more inclusive community, and a community that doesn't want to steal from you, but to build together, because it's a fixed supply and it's transparent. And back to your question about transparency and proof of reserve, I think it's important that the banks, the exchanges, can prove that we do not have any printing of synthetic Bitcoin. I think that will be the next big thing in the industry, that we all need to show transparency.
Totally agree. And yeah, just wanted to wrap it up. Thanks, Sander, for coming on. I'm really looking forward to the response that we get from our channel or even on X. So looking forward to that and really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.